Yeah, why do you think that the military fails so many service members in terms of wealth when they leave?
The whole point of being in the military is they want you to stay. They want you to be a grunt and do all the work. They don't want to teach you about anything with finances. I never get thought about the VA loan. I didn't even know it existed.
How did you break out of the military matrix?
I started to do my research, and then when I started to dig in more, I was like, oh shit, well, this is something that I can literally use to hyper accelerate like my wealth and essentially get out of the military.
And you've proved that it's not just possible, but it's repeatable.
And once I bought my first property, I was like, okay, the proof of concept, this works. Like I always say, like when you have the proof of concept, you can scale that higher because now your confidence goes through the roof because you did it once, you can do it again.
What's something that business has taught you that the Marine Corps never did?
No one told me that business was going to be a lot of mental and mindset shit, but I got to the point where I can think in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, I learned how to navigate it in a way that it doesn't take a day or two for me to like snap out of it and be like, you're good, let's keep going.
We all get the same 24 hours. So why is it that some people build so much more with them? I'm Brian Coons, and this is the Builder Nation podcast, where we talk to top performers, entrepreneurs, and visionaries to uncover the architecture of a meaningful and fulfilling life. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode of the Builder Nation podcast. Today I got my boy James DeLeon, and dude, I'm excited for you to be here.
Yeah.
So tell me, less than 15% of eligible veterans ever use their VA loan, but you did it. And also not only did you use it, but you bought a fourplex with $0 down, and today you have over 25 properties, multiple ADU developments here in San Diego, and you've BRRRR'd in one of the hardest markets to date that exists in the country. And you've proved that it's not just possible, but it's repeatable. So let's start there. Why do you think that the military fails so many veterans when it comes to building wealth after service?
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate you guys having me. Definitely, it's an honor to be able to do this with you and just to talk shop and shoot the shit, man.
Absolutely.
So, to answer your question, you had said that why
do you think that the military fails so many service members in terms of wealth when they leave?
Yeah. So I think the military definitely fails at this because they want you to stay. The whole point of being in the military is they want you to stay. They want you to be a grunt and do all the work for essentially, I wouldn't say it's free because it does have good benefits and it does pay good when you're in a certain pay grade, but the grunt work, they want you to stay in because obviously they invested a lot of time and money in you already. So with that being said, they don't want to teach you about anything with finances. I never get thought about the VA loan. I didn't even know it existed. Nothing about money, nothing about finance, because at the end of the day, they just want to keep you in your own little military bubble and they don't want you to exceed past what the military can provide.
Yeah. How did you break out of the military matrix?
How did I break out of it? Holy crap. I knew for a fact when I got out of deployment in the late 2019, I knew I didn't want to do it anymore. I knew that it was such a waste of my time, like going on field ops, and I was literally just sitting in the Humvee for like days on time. And I was like, this can't just be all about, this isn't what all life has to offer, right? Like I'm bored. I'm not really learning anything. Like what else can I do? Right. And I started to do my research and I was like, well, you know what? Like I have this VA loan. I've always wanted to do real estate, but let me back up. It actually didn't start like that. I wanted to do stocks at first. And I found out I'm not really good at reading candlestick patterns, nor does it really excite me. It doesn't give me a little chub. So I was like, all right, well, what's next then? And I remember this, man. I watched Bigger Pockets. Brandon Turner was explaining the 4 square method. And I was like, well, shit, I can do that. Like, that's not that hard to do. Like, he explained it so well. And I was like, well, what can I do to go ahead and make this happen?
Explain the 4 square method too.
The 4 square method is, I'm going to butcher this because it's been a while. I'm going to butcher this. So essentially, it's 4 squares that you put. You have, I think, your income on one side, expenses, and it's like your mortgage and like maintenance or renovations. And you're essentially analyzing a deal. That's what he's using to analyze a deal. So you have those 4 squares. You analyze it to make sure that whatever property you're going to buy is a good deal. And in a sense, like that's verbatim, that's what it is. I probably butchered whatever the 4 squares was, but I know for sure income and expenses is one of them. So that's when I saw that and I was like, well, shit, I can do this. Like, it's not that hard. Not knowing that San Diego, we were living in one of the most expensive cities in the country, right? And when I started listening to Bigger Pockets and all these podcasts and reading books, I was like, well, I have the VA loan. I didn't know I had the VA loan. I didn't go into the military knowing that, I have this benefit of the VA loan. And then when I started digging more, I was like, oh shit, well, this is something that I can literally use to hyper accelerate like my wealth and essentially get out of the military. So that's what started it all. It's like literally getting the VA loan. And once I bought my first property, I was like, okay, the proof of concept, this works. Like I always say, like when you have the proof of concept, you can scale that higher because now you're confident. Your confidence goes through the roof because you did it once, you can do it again.
But James, what if somebody doesn't have a VA loan?
You're right. So there's not a lot of people that do have the VA loan, and that's great. But you also have FHA loan. You have now what's 3% conventional, which if you're saving money, like it's very possible. And I always say like the number one thing you need to have when real estate investing, or at least have a grasp, is you need to have a good financial foundation, right? And if you have good financial foundation, you should have that 3 to 5% down payment that you can use without even a VA loan like FHA conventional, which you can get you your first property. They ended up coming out, I think last year, with what it was before the conventional. You couldn't buy unless it was like 10% down for small multis like duplex, triplex, fourplexes, but they came down to having it, like 3% last year.
Yep.
And that is a game changer because now a lot more of the population have access to purchase a 2 to 4 unit with little money and more leverage.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to impress, right? Because it's like Sony, like, only 15% of the military uses the VA loan, and more way higher percentage than that aren't even in the military, so they don't get it, right? So it's like, leveraging an owner-occupied loan to get into a property. I don't care what level of financial stability you are or income. There's no reason that like you shouldn't be using that at some point in your career.
Exactly. And that's not an excuse. Before, where it's like, oh, I don't have VA loan, or I don't have it was kind of a valid excuse, but now more so than ever, like it's not anymore. Like at the end of the day, you need to have a really good financial foundation. If you don't have that, you're going to crash and burn in real estate. That's just the truth of it. I've seen it multiple times where the reason why you need to have a good financial foundation is because you need to learn how to save money. You need to know how to delay gratification. That's all within the financial foundation umbrella. And if you can't have that, then you're just going to spend cash flow that you think you have, but you really don't. And you're not taking into account the phantom costs when it comes to analyzing deals. Because you look at it as black and white as, oh, I'm going to cash flow this. This is what I'm going to have in my bank account every month. I'm going to go ahead and spend it.
What's the biggest financial lie you were told in the Marines?
I would say that this is the most you're going to get income-wise. Because at the end of the day, like we had BAH. Like for me, I was married in the Marine Corps. I had BAH. I had benefits. I had, food. It was pretty close. I think we were making like 60, 70 a year. They tell it like, oh, this is all you're really ever going to be worth. Like this is all you're ever going to make. This is the most you're going to make unless you rank up here. To kind of go back to the first thing we talked about, to keep you in this like military complex of, you're going to stay here. This is security. This is a security blanket for you. This is the most you're ever going to make so that you don't look anywhere else outside.
Yeah. Why do you think so many people only, even if they use their VA loan, why do so many of them only buy one house?
It's a great question. So I feel like if with the VA loan, after they buy their first house, they feel like that's the end all be all. Oh, I already used my VA loan. That's it, right? Like that's all I've already used this one portion that's a 0 down payment, that's high leverage, that's full leverage, and I'm not going to find anything else that's like that. Where that's not the case. Like they just need to be educated on all the different products. And I think because this happened to me, once you have your first property, you build so much credibility from investors who was willing to give you money, from lenders who are willing to give you money. There's so many people that's now wanting to give you money because you literally just did one deal that you gotten that's full leverage, 0 down.
Yeah. No,
right?
I mean that right there, like I think that's one of the, if you're in the beginning of your journey, like getting into the first deal, everyone that I talk to, that's exactly what it is. It's instant credibility because you're actually fucking doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's not you're talking about it. Oh, I'm gonna do it. It's like no, like even if it's one deal, it's like I am a real estate investor.
That's exactly
right. And I think that it's like it's good that you said that because it's the way I think about it. The VA loan and any other of these owner occupied loans or whatever it is to get the first deal, it's a stepping stone, right? It's the bridge between you not being a real estate investor and you being able to go do other things in the real estate space. And so you went from, obviously you used your VA loan to get a fourplex, which was sick.
And fun fact, I actually hit up this guy on BRRRR before I bought a fourplex asking for advice. And that's essentially how we met. So I always say this to a lot of people when I talk about Brian and Kalani. Brian was my first friend in real estate. Like, this guy and I grew up together in real estate. So it's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Like, I probably still have those messages on your phone. It's funny. Yeah, I mean, we linked up at meetups, and it's just so funny because you kind of like went down this different path where I went, super hard into development specifically. Yeah. You kind of took this other path where you were actually BRRRRing properties from day one, which is wild. Yeah. So,
and that's the beauty of real estate, right? Like that is the beauty of real estate, where you can make money in different avenues. You can have a niche that you like for us, it was BRRRRs and flips, now getting into developments in the multifamily space. But you has always been development. That's what tickled your pickle, essentially, right? Like, that's what you love. And I had what I loved, right? So that's, and we all make money from it. I think that's the biggest thing with real estate that I really like, is the fact that it's not an end all be all, or it's not like, what do you call that? A one size fits
scarcity,
all kind of thing. Yeah. Like there's just so many different routes that you can go on and make money on it. Right?
Yeah. So how do you make a BRRRR work in San Diego?
Yeah. So number one is always the deal. The deal is always the number one thing. So that phrase of you make your money when you buy definitely rings true, especially if it's a BRRRR, because when you're doing like the refi or your numbers, if your purchase price is already high, it blows up the whole deal because you can't do a cash out refi. You always have to analyze a BRRRR deal as a cash out refi at the end, because that's essentially what you're doing. Right. And a lot of cash out refi is usually 75% LTV. So you have to do it as a 75% ARV, right? Which is after repair value. When it's all said and done, that's when the rehab is all said and done, that's the value that it's going to be at. You need to analyze based on that. Right. And a lot of lenders only lend 75% of that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so, you have a couple of levers, right? You have the purchase price, you have your renovation costs, you have
renovation costs.
Interest rates are something important. So like walk me through, one of your, I guess have you done one recently in this interest rate environment?
Yep.
Take me through that deal. Like, how did you find it? How did you, what did the deal actually look like? Did you have to cut corners anywhere?
So we actually found this on the MLS. So if anyone tells you there's no deals in the MLS, I know you buy deals in the MLS. There's always deals in the MLS. I think you just have to essentially have the balls to put the numbers or make the offer that you want it to be at without a fear of you getting rejected or getting told fuck off, because you're going to get that a lot. So anyways, number one is our most recent one that we did was on the MLS that we did a complete BRRRR on. It was listed for $780, I believe. And I called the agent and I told him, like, hey, essentially in kind of nicer words, I was like, you're a little bit too high on the purchase price or in this area. Would your clients take anything lower? Right. And I had him talk up, and then he did mention that they had an offer at, mid sixes. And he said, and I quote, he's like, I'm surprised they even looked into that. So what that tells me is like, okay, there is a play for them to go lower. They literally went almost $100,000 lower. And I asked them, I was like, well, and this is a question I like to ask. What would you think they'd say if the number begins in a 5, or the number they're going to be? Because obviously you're going from 7 to 6 to 5. And they're probably going to tell you to fuck off. Like, we're not even going to look at it. Well, why is that? Learn the whole process and learn what their thought process is. And then, but long story short, we ended up offering $550 at first. He came back to me and he was like, hey, we don't have any other offers. Would you be willing to go up to 6? So now we went from 780 to 6.
On MLS.
Exactly. Off the MLS. And he was like, I didn't think my clients would go for this, but legally, agents have to present your offer. So they presented the offer to the seller and they said, hey, we actually would be willing to take something, not $550, but we could go at 6. And we were negotiating back and forth for about a week and a half. We said, 5. Oh no, they went $615. And then I said, we went up to $575, waiving all commissions because I have my own license. And they were like, nope, the lowest we'll go is 6. And so we ended up at 6. It ended up working still at 6. And so we got it in escrow, closed it. We put about $60,000 in rehab on it. And then when it's all said and done, we got it appraised at $835. And then it didn't meet the 75% criteria or LTV. We would have kept like $60,000 in the deal, which is not feasible for us. We would have rather sold it. But my business partner, my lender, who's amazing, he ended up getting an exception for 80% LTV, which is insane to think about in this environment, to get an 80% LTV exception. But we ended up getting that, and we only left about 10 grand in the deal. It doesn't cash flow that much. The cash flow is about, I think, like $500. But at the end of the day, like our cash on cash return, if we left 10 grand, it's like immense. I think it's like 60% at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And then after that, it's infinite ROI.
Hey guys, if you're a business owner, high income earner, or investor who's been thinking about getting into real estate development but don't have the time to manage the process, this is for you. My company partners with people like you to help unlock the potential of your properties or even source and manage new small scale development projects. We manage hundreds of ADUs and infill development projects across Southern California, and our team knows how to simplify the process so you can benefit from the upside without managing contractors, permits, or design headaches. Whether you want to develop your own property, explore ways to offset taxes, or just learn how the development model works, head to thebuildernation.com/partner. That's thebuildernation.com/partner, and see how we can help you build more with the same 24 hours. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point of finding the deals on the MLS, because when you are looking at a deal or you're looking at something on the MLS, you don't know that moment where they're ready. Right. And so some of the most successful wholesalers that I know are literally people that just hit up agents who have properties and say, hey, like, it's been on the market, I'd love to put in an offer. Do you think it's worth it? And they'll say, yeah, sure. Throw it in or whatever. Actually, I had one, it was on LoopNet only. It wasn't on MLS. It was a duplex. Essentially called the guy, said, hey, I just wanted to check in on this. It was like 1.3. And I was, he was like, hey, interesting, want to pick up this deal. Just, it's a little bit high. And he's like, well, actually, I'm going to be dropping it 1.2 and putting it on the MLS tomorrow. I was like, well, I mean, can I throw some numbers together before you do that and see if I can make something happen?
Yeah.
It was like, I vibed with him and he was like all about it. And so I put in a offer at like $1,050,000 and we ended up getting locked up at 1.1.
Wow.
So before I went on the MLS, it was on LoopNet only and got it for $200,000 less just because I caught him at the right time.
And then that's the thing. You were able to, you didn't even really see the opportunity until you actually talked to him, but you actually, you went for it, right? And that's all it really takes. You take an action to go for it, right? That's all it takes sometimes in the game of real estate.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you went from BRRRRs, right? And once you have a proof of concept, that's where most people stall out. And you continued to go, right? You went from the BRRRRs, the house hack, into flipping, into agent. You were an agent as well, and now you're kind of in this vertical integration, right?
Yep.
And so, what was the first system that you built that made your business scalable?
For sure, the BRRRR. We set up a system where we know exactly what numbers we need to be at, and it all flowed through. It was essentially a warehouse line. After we got it into escrow, my business partner takes over. I don't have to worry about that. And then after we take it over, when it comes to the tenants, our property management company takes it over and giving them the 60-day notices, helping them to move, etc. And then after that, when it's done, about a month into that 60-day notice, I have my contractor actually work on the exterior. So our lag time isn't as much. And then after that, our contractor just takes over the whole thing, orders supplies, gets the whole thing done. And then after, it gets sent back to my business partner who takes care of the whole loan.
Okay.
Right. So the BRRRR system, it's pretty simple, but it's not easy because you have to buy at the right price. But we were able to systematize because then my business partner is a mortgage lender. I have a license. So if we're going to do it on the for example, on the MLS, we just waive all commissions. We waive his commissions on the back end. So obviously our numbers get tighter.
No, that makes sense. So how do you build a construction team without your GC license?
Yeah. So great question. So that's definitely tough. So what I like with our contractors that don't have GC license, they have to have experience with someone or working with someone who has a GC license because they get to know what kind of craftsmanship and workmanship we like so that we don't essentially get any flags, right? But we're getting to the point we're getting too big right now to the point where I need a GC license. So my guy who's worked for this guy for 30 years is getting his GC license transferred over to him. And then we're bringing in someone else who has a GC license. And we're getting another one who's my project manager / designer. He's going to get his GC license. So we're essentially going to have 3 licenses in one.
Interesting. And how do you incentivize the GCs to stay loyal with their crews?
Give them work. Super simple. You got to give them work, and it actually incentivizes you to to get more deals, to get in more work so that you guys can get them more work and so they stay with you, right? So it's not like, hey, I have this one project, but hey, when we're done with this, we're not going to have another project for 3 months. Come stay with us though. like, just work with us. No, it's not like that. You have to work your ass off to get them deals.
Right.
Whether that be your own projects or now we start contracting out because we have the manpower now to do everything and we have the licenses to do it. Now we're contracting it out to do remodels for everyone else and at some point do flips. And then eventually in the grand scale, eventually, a few years from now, end up developing ADUs, but that's not something we want to do right now. It's just more so remodels.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So what's the difference between a good project manager and a great project manager?
So a good project manager is going to go ahead and you're going to see the progress, right? You're going to see that it's working well, but they don't necessarily have systems in place. Like, for example, we're implementing this thing like with Gantt charts. So we want to have Gantt charts for all our projects. We want to have all the supplies ordered a week before what that work is supposed to be done the week of. Whereas in your project manager, they're kind of more reactive. They're more reactive. So good project managers are more reactive. Whereas in great project managers, they know, they anticipate what's coming next.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And they already have the whole plan laid out.
That makes a lot of sense. So how do you balance volume with quality when you're doing so many flips?
That is what we're trying to figure out now, because I do not want to dip in quality whatsoever. And that's kind of the hard thing, because as we bring in more crews, there's more people in between me with quality control and what I want a product to look like to the team doing the work. There's a lot more in between. So that's the hard part. We're still trying to figure that out. And that's why we brought in our in-house project manager and design so that they're doing it. And you got to have a good QC team. And you got to also communicate well to your QC team what you expect. You got to communicate your expectations, right? And you got to show them. Sometimes I'm out there still in our projects, be like, hey, man, this grout work sucks. We need to redo it. This baseboards aren't up to par where we want it. It's very I'm very detail oriented when it comes to our flips, because believe it or not, that's the main reason right now why a lot of these flips are not selling, is because there's something minuscule that ends up adding up, and buyers are not stupid. They're going to catch that, right? And they're going to think, okay, if these things are off, what else is it? Something I can't see that's behind the walls that could potentially harm us in the future.
Okay. What's one of the best systems or processes you put into your company to improve
quality, to
improve the business?
So it's not necessarily a system. I think it's more people.
Okay.
I think I have I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I have a great way of seeing people and how they work and putting them to different places where they're going to thrive. Yeah. So I don't really have to do, it's more so who are you going to put into place to replace you rather than what systems and processes, because then they can implement the system and processes.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of something that stands out to me in the way that you're finding deals and stuff. It's the way that you lead. I mean, you've built a huge team, and you've built partners, the team. You have a structure to the company that allows you to vertically integrate in a fairly seemingly simple and smooth way. But you're keeping people aligned, the culture and things like that. So, how did you and Austin create such clear roles in your real estate partnership?
Oh yeah. So I mean, I guess a prologue to this. Having a great partnership is crucial to being in the game for a long time. You guys need to have the same, not necessarily like the same work ethic or the same, but you guys need to have the same values and beliefs on something. Like, for example, him and I are very frugal. Like, we don't spend a lot of money on anything. And that kind of goes into building a great financial foundation. We don't take any money from we've never took money from Deagle. As much as Deagle's our company, we've been up for 4.5 years. We have not taken money from it because we know our goal is to scale this thing up so that we can retire in 4 or 5 years, right? So I just want to start off with that, where you need to have a really good partner, essentially has the same goals and vision and ideas you do, right? With Austin and I know what he's good at and I know what I'm good at, vice versa. I know what we're both bad at, right? Like, for example, I am not that organized. I am really not that, as you can probably tell, like, you helping me out with the notion and everything, I'm really not that organized. So he brings that organization to the company, right? And on the other hand, he's not as front-facing, nor does he want to be as front-facing as I do. So that's why I'm the one that's talking to all the partners, talking to our tenants, all our clients. Like, I'm the one that's doing that, right? So we have clear-cut roles, and it's really just based on what we like and what we don't like to do. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think we got a little bit lucky with each other, with Austin and I, because yes, we're alike in a lot of different things in life and in our company, but we have also different skill sets, which is hard to come by.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I remember, I've gotten into several partnerships, and I remember one of my professors said, he was kind of joking about it, but he's like, you should not get in a partnership with somebody until you've known them for like 10 years. And, that's a little bit extreme, but, I have seen partnerships go very poor because somebody hasn't necessarily seen someone when they've been in a tough spot.
Yeah, and that's exactly a great point, man, because then I think that's where it shows your true characters when you're in a tough spot and you see how they deal with it, right? And that's the same thing. Like we've had multiple partners where it didn't work out well because when put in a tough spot, it crumbles.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that it was all them. There's definitely parts that we've kind of messed up in and learned from. But you make a valid point. Like you have to know how they are when times are rough. Right. Because the good times, yeah, everyone can work on a good time. Oh, it's a great partnership and a good time. Right. But when it starts to really dip down and like you actually have to button up your pants and fucking go to work, how are they going to react to it?
Yeah. And it's funny too, because almost every time it's financial.
It's always funny. Like a marriage, bro. Like that's how Austin and I look at it. Like, we're married for life. And we talk about that all the time. Like, like you're my fucking work husband, right? Like it's too late, right? Like
we're committed.
Yeah, we're committed. This is a lifetime thing, right? So it's the same thing. Like, whereas in marriages, the number one reason why marriages fail is financial. It's the same thing for partnerships. That's the number one reason why they fail.
Yeah. So what's a situation that was pretty tough that you guys handled well, and why? Why do you think that was?
Yeah. So
I guess how?
Yeah. So we had this flip that we had actually, it's not too bad. So we were closing on a flip actually recent, like last year. It's so funny. We didn't know that California was the only one that does Cesar Chavez Day. And what had happened was, so we already released EMD to the sellers. We did an early release EMD. It was $25,000. They went to Michigan to look for a house because that's where they're going to move to. And we were already, I think we're supposed to close on Friday. We didn't meet that deadline. So we were going to close Monday. But Monday was Cesar Chavez Day. So Michigan doesn't see that. It's a California thing. And we're like, fuck, well, we're trying to explain to them that, hey, Cesar Chavez Day is a real thing. It's something we have to abide by. All escrow offices and title offices are closed. Like, I don't know what you guys want us to do. They were threatening a lawsuit to us because it was like a breach of contract. They were going to lose out on their purchase on the Michigan house. And they were essentially telling us that we were kind of prolonging the process, even though like it's literally Cesar Chavez Day. Like, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
So all we had to do, like, we had to do a bunch of wires. We had to trust people that we didn't trust at the time, or not trust, but we didn't know at the time. But we ended up getting done. Like, we wired, I think, an extra $80,000 to escrow just to get the deal done, not knowing if we're going to get that $80,000 back.
Yeah.
Right.
What lessons from the Marine Corps apply directly to running a business?
Discipline, for sure. Discipline and work ethic and that's what I always thank the Marine Corps for. I didn't have a lot of discipline before I went in the military. I was the least disciplined person I've known, right, before joining the military. But then when I joined the military, like, I ended up instilling the discipline in me, and I'm glad that it carries over to being a real estate investor, right? Because, like, for example, if you have discipline for delayed gratification, right, keeping discipline with that, then you're not going to turn out. I mean, it's not that you're not going to turn out well. It's going to be a lot harder for you than if you were not delaying gratification.
And what's, like, for a partnership, right?
Yeah.
What's a red flag that would be an immediate partnership killer for you?
Not knowing how to do their finances right off the rip. Like, and a big spender. I think those are two main things. Like, look, I am very specific who I want to do my partnership with. If people out there want to work with someone who's a big spender, who's loud, who's out there with their money, so be it. But to me, that's a no-no for me, because then what that tells me is that money is their number one thing, and money is not our number one thing.
I think that's a really good point. Is they have to be, if they aren't a good fiduciary of their own money, how could they be a good fiduciary of somebody else's? Exactly.
And then here we are. We have millions of dollars from private money lenders giving us money. And how am I supposed to trust you with these people's money? It's not even my money, it's these people's money, which is even more important, right? Because people are trusting us with their money. I don't want it to go blow off in something like something materialistic or something that is really just going to put in our company in a bad position.
Yeah. And that's actually one other point that I want to touch on before we finish up is you've raised a good amount of money.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so kind of, if somebody's looking to raise money, what is the process to actually get to that point? Because I talk to so many people that they have access to the people with the money. They even have proof of concept sometimes, but they just can't figure it out, or they can't take that leap. So what did you guys do, and kind of how did you do that?
Like, the funny thing is, we didn't even want to raise money up until a year and a half, 2 years ago. Austin and I talked about it. We were like, hey, we're just going to use our money, or money that we recycle from our BRRRRs. We're never taking people's money. And then a couple of years ago, when we had our first flip and they gave us money, it was all private money lender. I was like, oh shit, this is kind of cool. Like, we didn't have to come up with our money. We can use our money for something else. Let's keep doing this, right? And it kind of just boils down to you asking. If you hear someone, that just sold their house, that you helped them, like for us, like we just helped them sell their house. We ask them, what are they going to do with the money, right? Or we bought a house from someone, like direct to seller. We ask them, what are you going to do with the money, right? It's literally as simple as asking. And for us, what we like, and what I like to do too, on top of the asking, is so a lot of the money we got is from networking events. So what I do is go to a networking event. We go grab, like, obviously we talk in a networking event. I tell them about my investments and what we got going on. And then we get coffee or lunch. And then at the same time, I walk them through all the properties, probably like 2 or 3 properties that we have, tell them the numbers, walk them through the units, introduce them to our GC, and be like, hey, like, this is what we do. So I love doing investor walkthroughs because and there's so many people out in networking events that just blow smoke. For us, if we show them exactly what we're doing, even from like the start of a rehab or in the middle of it or at the end of it, they see that we're actually doing what we're saying we're doing. We're not just blowing smoke. So that's how we're able to raise a good amount of money, because they know that we do what we say we do.
That's really funny. I just talked to somebody the other day that was a private money lender, and they were like, there's a huge difference between, hey, let me raise money from you, and hey, come drive my resume.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, there's very few job roles that you can, quote unquote, apply for, which one of them is, technically being in investor relations or a capital raiser is a job.
Yeah.
That you can say, yeah, let's go take a look at my job or at my resume.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like that. And that's perfect. That's a perfect analogy for that. It is a resume, and they get to see exactly what it is, man. And I thoroughly enjoy doing investor walkthroughs because I love talking about our properties. It's literally like, it's our babies, right? This is what we do, kind of thing. So we raised a ton of money doing it that way, an investor walkthrough. But I mean, it's obviously like, we didn't raise money up until we were like 8 to 10 properties deep.
You learned on your own dime.
Exactly. Right. And then now people are trusting us because we did what we say we're going to do. Like, we're putting in the work now. But if I were to say it from a person who has 1 or 2 properties, I would honestly say just ask and show them your properties too. Right. And then just do it from friends and families you trust first. Right. Yeah. Like, unless you want to go up and then go to networking events and ask just complete strangers, you could. But friends and family first is always a good thing. And you can show them the properties you have.
Yeah. No, I love that, dude. All right. To close out, one more question for you. Yep. What's something that business has taught you that the Marine Corps never did?
What's something that business has taught me that the Marine Corps never did? How it's all like mental, and how to navigate like mental hurdles, right? No one told me that business was going to be a lot of mental and mindset shit, because there's obviously like to this day, I still feel like I'm behind. Like, no matter what, like, people tell me, oh shit, like, you got all this is, it doesn't matter. In my mind, I still feel behind, right? And I'm 31. Like, by statistics sake, like, I'm doing really well, but I tell myself I'm behind. It's not as bad now, but I have imposter syndrome, right? And the military has never taught us how to do anything about, or they teach us to push, like, shove it down. You're weak if you talk about your mental health, right? And that's why with me, like, I'm very open about my mental health. Like, I go to therapy, right? Like, I do all those things, because then there's just so much that people don't understand about running a business. Relationships, a lot of relationships are going to get tested. There is people that's going to come after you, right? There's people who are going to look like your friends, but at the end of the day, they want to see your downfall. There's people that you're going to lose, right? And there are people you're going to gain. So, and that all ties into like mental health and your mindset. I had to learn that. I wouldn't say it's by myself. Like, I had to read a lot of books. I had to do a lot of mental work to get to where I'm at now, where it's not as, because before there'd be days that I'd just be curled up in a ball because anxiety or depression got a hold of me, and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. Yeah. But I got to the point where I can think in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, I learned how to navigate it in a way that it doesn't take a day or two for me to like snap out of it and be like, you're good. Let's keep going.
That's an amazing answer. Okay. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you calling on. James, the BRRRR King DeLeon.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
Appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of the Builder Nation podcast. If it gave you something to think about, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's leveling up. Until next time, keep building.